So this upcoming week is going to be a very interesting week for Xbox. Obviously, this past week has been a very interesting week for Xbox. Many people are expecting doom and gloom next week when Xbox reveals what their plans are for the future. And you would feel like you already know what those plans are because we just got a developer direct. But of course, the wheels have fallen off with this situation, and everyone's talking about all of this crazy sort of stuff with Xbox. They're getting out of consoles, they're going completely third party, they're going the way of Sega, Game Pass is going out. So I'm here today to tell you guys the truth about this situation because I'm obviously someone who is the king of Xbox and the king of PlayStation YouTube, but more importantly, I've been following this all week. Ever since Sunday of last week, I've been talking about all the latest stuff, and we've heard about Starfield, Gears of War, Indiana Jones coming. Is Xbox indeed getting out of consoles? Is Game Pass coming to every system under the sun? And today I want to talk about the stuff that I have heard from talking to other people and just my thoughts and opinions about what to expect next week. I'm not saying this is 100% accurate, but I feel like it's an informed enough opinion to sort of make a video about this. So one of the main things that people have been talking about all week is Starfield, because last Sunday it was revealed by Xbox Era, and then also other people came along and said they heard similar things, that Starfield was indeed coming to the PlayStation 5 potentially later on this year when the new DLC launches for the game. Obviously, that would be pretty interesting because Starfield was Xbox's biggest game of 2023. I think that can't really be argued, unless you're a big Forza fan, which is a pretty fun game. I've been playing it a bunch. But with this game, it's like, it's big. It's a big game. It's a first-party exclusive for Microsoft. And because of this, a lot of Xbox fans were losing their mind because there's always been rumors about Hi-Fi Rush, games like Sea of Thieves going to other platforms. But since then, I did a podcast on Thursday night saying that I had heard from some people that Starfield may have not been what it seemed. It may have been on the table at one point in time, but it doesn't seem like that's actually going to happen now. Nate the Hate came out and said today that he had personally heard that this Starfield thing wasn't exactly what it was making out to be. And a lot of people try to make Nate a martyr just for being honest, just for speaking the truth. Because a lot of these Xbox fanboys lost their mind when all these reports started coming out. And other people started talking about Gears of War and Indiana Jones and all these other games and consoles going away and Game Pass becoming something different. And it just really caused this domino effect that's absolutely insane. So I kind of just want to be like, this is what I expect next week to be. And as far as next week is concerned, this is a business meeting, meaning that I don't think there's going to be some sort of video where Phil Spencer comes out there fresh off the golf course and Sarah Bond is with them, and they do some sort of presentation talking about the future of Xbox. Since this is a business thing, I expect this to be like a press release or something like that. Like maybe there will be a video, but I'm not expecting a bunch of pomp and circumstance with this. Will Starfield be there? I honestly don't think so. I think you might see smaller games like your Hi-Fi Rushes, your Pentiments, your Sea of Thieves, games that, have been on the system for at least a year, games that were live service games such as Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves has been on Xbox for 5+ years now. Who cares if it goes to PlayStation? Who cares? Who cares about that? Like I don't see it as a big deal. Yes, it's a little bit strange, but you can already get Microsoft games on your PlayStation 5. You can already get Microsoft games on your Nintendo Switch. Boot up Ori, boot up Hellblade, boot up Minecraft. Those are all Microsoft games. People just seem to have short-term memory with things like this. And if you're not talking about big IPs like Starfield going over to the other platforms, what's there to be so worried about? Now, as far as Indiana Jones is concerned, that's a whole nother topic because it does seem like there is some sort of stuff going on with that. And I do think that that has a chance to be a multi-platform game, but as a timed exclusive. You have to look at it from a business perspective. Game Pass is not cheap to operate. Okay, they pay lots of money to bring in these third party games to it. They also cannibalize their own game sales by saying, hey, here's the subscription service. You get the game in this, so you don't have to spend $70. That's why you never hear about Xbox game sales. So if you're taking older games or games that are going to be big hits and either putting these older games onto other platforms or doing a timed exclusive where if I own an Xbox, I get it on day one, I can play it on something like Game Pass, and then other console owners can enjoy it, such as PlayStation 5 and potentially next generation Nintendo Switch owners, like a year later, who cares? Like, I know it's kind of weird. It's a little bit different. It's not like you're going to see Mario on Xbox or, The Last of Us on Xbox, but sometimes companies have to pivot. Sometimes companies have to do things differently because I do feel that there is an internal struggle over at Microsoft. I feel like Phil Spencer is starting to wear out his welcome a little bit. He's been there for over 10 years now. And, is the company in the best of shape? I think if it was, we wouldn't be having these conversations. So, I still don't see this event happening next week to be some sort of big deal, like that there's going to be bombshells. Is Xbox leaving consoles? No, we already know about the next Xbox console. We know that it's a 2 terabyte digital only system that's going to replace the Xbox Series X. We already saw the thing. Of course, they're going to be doing another console. But what about physical products? They're getting rid of physical products. We've been talking about this. This isn't new information. They're definitely starting to dwindle those down because all of their first party games are on things like Game Pass. Well, speaking of Game Pass, is Game Pass coming to PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch 2? Microsoft wants it. They've been telling you that for a long time. We want Game Pass to be on every screen under the sun. But the problem is, what's the benefit for PlayStation and what's the benefit for Nintendo? All they're going to get from that is basically a little bit of the cut of Game Pass being on their platform. But those platforms also sell games. PlayStation 5, Nintendo Switch. Games sell on those platforms. You can look at the data and see that for yourself. That would potentially cannibalize third-party developers with their games, because if their game happens to go on Game Pass, now they're not getting any sort of sales on the Nintendo Switch or the PlayStation 5. And I can see that potentially damaging relationships. I don't think the return would be good enough to to make PlayStation want to bring Game Pass on there, to cannibalize PlayStation Plus, for Nintendo to bring Game Pass on there, to cannibalize Nintendo Switch Online. It sounds great in theory, and you could do a version of it, a la carte or something like that, and maybe that's what's going on with Microsoft Game Pass instead of Xbox Game Pass because it makes it a bit more attractive. But from the business side of things, I'm not sure that really makes sense. But speaking about Game Pass, we do have to talk about the rumors around Game Pass and that whole Microsoft Game Pass alleged rebranding, even though it's been said before. Now some images are popping up with some different marketing material. I do think Game Pass will slightly change. And the slight change, I think, is going to be one of two things. And one of them, I think, will be somewhat acceptable, and the other one won't be. The first thing that I think would be acceptable is a price increase. Like, I get it. Nobody likes price increases, but if you have to increase the price slightly to, churn out these quality games and add more games to the service, you know what? It is what it is. People can either decide to stick with it, they can go to a lesser option of Xbox Live, or they can just buy games. But the other thing is, there are rumors that some of these bigger titles might not be in Game Pass on day one. Because you remember, Microsoft always said that their first party games would be on Game Pass on day one. What about Call of Duty? What about Elder Scrolls 6? What about Indiana Jones? Are those all going to be on Game Pass on day one? I think there is a question surrounding that. And I'm not sure that anyone has the answer, and I'm not even sure that answer will be addressed next week, but I wouldn't be surprised if we hear something about Game Pass. So to summarize, is the sky falling for Xbox? I don't think so. They're not leaving the console industry anytime soon. Yes, some Xbox games will come onto other platforms, smaller titles, older titles. Your Sea of Thieves is probably going to PlayStation 5. You've had it for 5 years, Xbox fans. Why not try to make a little bit of money off the PlayStation fan base? A game like Hi-Fi Rush, that'll sell on Nintendo Switch. That'll sell on a PlayStation 5. Why not make some money on it? Smaller titles, the small titles that already exist on some of these platforms from Microsoft will just continue to exist. They'll just be more announced. Could Game Pass be undergoing some changes? Maybe. Maybe. And, some first party games might end up being, released on other platforms down the line. Xbox owners will still get the games on day one. One thing I do want to say in closing this video, though, is I don't want to see any Xbox fanboys thinking they changed the narrative by being absolute crybaby weirdos going into Twitter Spaces for 7+ hours a day crying about how Xbox betrayed them. You got betrayed because you trusted a company. A company is not your friend. Phil Spencer is not your friend. They developed parasocial relationships with you as a consumer. You could be mad about that. You could be mad that you had breakfast with Phil Spencer and thought he was your friend when he was really just using you for marketing. Sure, be mad about that. But at the same time, you fed into it a bit. You were a little bit naive with it. I'm not putting all the blame on you, but don't think that your crybaby antics have started any sort of change in Microsoft, because you didn't. This presentation was allegedly happening at the end of the month. They moved it up because people were spazzing out online over this, and really that's the truth of the matter. And I feel like I've laid out the truth pretty well in this video. I'm not saying this is all fact. Some of it is informed speculation. Some of it is just my opinion. But at the end of the day, I feel like I'm going to be pretty spot on with this whole situation. Let me know what you think of it, though, in the comments section down below. Do you think that Microsoft is going to scorch the earth, or are they just going to burn a bush or something? I don't know where I was going with that. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Hit that bell notification as well. We're on the road to 500,000 subscribers. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.